There's a village tucked away in the folds of the hills, a place so quiet that even the birds seem to avoid it. Travelers rarely pass through anymore, though once, long ago, the roads were busier. People who still remember whisper about why they stopped coming, but their stories never match. Some say the river dried up, some say the land went sour. None of them mention what really waits in the church at the center of town. The building leans with age, its stones blackened with moss, the bell tower cracked but stubbornly upright. It hasn't rung in decades, not since the priest vanished. They never found his body. The villagers will tell you that at dusk the church doors open on their own. The wood groans as if someone inside pushes them wide. If you look too long, they say, you'll see something at the altar that is not moving, not even speaking, it's just waiting. People cross themselves and turn away, but it's only a story until you hear about the travelers who disappeared. One autumn evening, a man passing through decided to test it. He wasn't afraid of folklore, and he was too proud to let old villagers' warnings unsettle him. When the doors swung open, he stepped inside. The air was damp and heavy, thick with the smell of wet stone and something sour underneath, like spoiled milk. Rows of pews stretched out in the dark, warped and broken. At the far end, the altar seemed too tall, the shadows behind it too deep. When his eyes adjusted, he realized the altar wasn't right. The stone looked swollen, as though it had been softened and left to sag under its own weight. The carvings had stretched into strange, twisted lines, and the surface of it bulged like a blister. He stepped closer. Something shifted beneath the stone. It was not behind it, not carved into it, but inside it. For an instant, a face pressed outward, distorting the surface as though the rock were no stronger than wax. Its eyes opened, blind and wide, before the features sank back into the stone. Then came the impression of a rib cage, the faint arch of fingers clawing upward from within, pressing hard enough to crack the surface. The altar pulsed, slowly, like a living chest taking in breath. The man staggered backward, knocking against a pew. The wood groaned, but the sound didn't echo right. The pews were closer now, their rows crowding into the aisle. Where there had been space, there was only a narrowing path hemmed in by jagged wood. From within the altar, a noise began to rise. It wasn't a voice, not at first, just a low vibration, like wind trapped in a pipe. But then it spread, split, multiplied. Dozens of tones layered over each other until the church was filled with the sound of countless voices humming through stone, all too low to understand, all too close to his ears. He pressed his palm against the nearest wall. It wasn't cold. It flexed beneath his touch, soft as damp clay, and something inside shifted closer to meet his hand. He jerked it away. Then the bell rang, a single toll from the cracked tower above, vibrating through the floorboards, rattling in his bones. Outside, the villagers swore. Later, they hadn't heard a thing, but inside, the sound was deafening. The pews locked tight, the walls shuddered, and the altar split down its center. From the crack, pale hands clawed outward, dozens of them, wet stone breaking away as they reached, not grasping for him exactly, but for air, for light, for release. Behind them, something vast and shifting pressed forward, too large to name, too unfinished to describe. The voices became a roar. The man tried to scream, but the bell drowned everything out. And when the villagers opened the church at dawn, they found nothing inside. No man, no broken pews, no cracked altar. The air smelled faintly of wet stone and decay, as if the building itself had exhaled after a long night. The altar had vanished, and in its place was a shallow depression in the stone floor, perfectly shaped, like a mold pressed into the ground. Tiny fragments of stone lay scattered around its edges, fractured not by force, but by something pressing outward from beneath. The villagers didn't touch it. They couldn't explain why, but every instinct told them that whatever had emerged or had been released was still beneath their feet, just waiting. And sometimes, in the quietest hours before dawn, a tremor ran through the floor, so subtle that only the bravest or the most foolish noticed. Do not disturb the bell.